Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hi, teacher.
Hello, Hung. How are you?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was beautiful. We had a beautiful day yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh, I was just looking at the top stories in the news. Um, are any of your students, do any of your students play golf?
No.
Um, in Not in Atlanta, but in Augusta, Georgia, but in my state, there is a world famous, probably the most famous golf tournament in the world.
Wow.
And it was this weekend, it finished this weekend. And the big news is that the tournament was won by a Japanese man for the first time ever. And his name is Hideki Matsuyama. And so that was near Atlanta.
So you came to the event and see the competition?
Well, the competition, it's an international competition. Uh, so the best golfers in the world come to Georgia for the Masters, and it's like if you win this golf competition, you are like the world's best golfer. So for the first time, it was won by somebody from Japan. I don't watch golf. I'm not interested in golf. I have played golf, but not much. Um, but it was big news, and I do believe it was the first time that anybody from that part of the world has won the Masters. Uh,
Especially he come from Asia.
yeah, I don't think any Asian has ever won the Masters before. But if I Google, let's see, if I Google the Masters, okay, you can see the Japanese man came in first. The next three were Americans, and then there was a man from Spain. But if I like, this is a it's a very beautiful time of year in Georgia, and you can see that the azaleas are blooming. So it's a very beautiful time of year, and it's very popular and international. Um, like I said, I don't follow golf, but it was very big news. It was on the front page of the New York Times today. So all right. How was your weekend, Hung?
Yeah, I just in the morning I just went to church and
Hmm.
then engaged in a mass. And in the afternoon I go to join an IELTS class. Yeah, and now I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's Monday night for you. It's the beginning of the day for me. Um, okay, well, it's almost 8 o'clock. Okay, let's get started. I want to show you a video. It's not about writing, it's about speaking, but the lady who is talking has some very good advice for you about how to communicate. So it's just a short 2.5 minute video. Um, but let's just watch real quick. Let me share it with you. All right, let me make it full screen, and I'll play.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Ricketts with Lighthouse Communications, and today we're talking about how to be on point. In other words, how can you be clear, concise, and persuasive when you communicate, which is something that we all want. The first thing, right, may seem obvious, but it is your point, so get to it. Get to your point. A lot of times people give background information and they lead up into their point, and if you look around, you see a lot of confused faces. So you want to reverse that. Start with your point and then explain. This goes for emails, conversations, whatever. Just start with your point. If you do this, the listener has to do very little work to understand where you're going. I want to share with you an outline that you can use to help structure your points to ensure that they're clear and concise. It's called PREP, and PREP stands for point, reason, example, point summarized. Let me give you an example. Let's say that we're having a meeting and we're discussing whether or not we should release a product. So we have this due date, we want to release it in time, but there's some glitches and we're not quite sure what we should do. So we're going back and forth. So I'm going to use PREP to structure my point. I think that we should hold off on the product release for 2 weeks because we don't want a firestorm of complaints for users. It would be bad press, and we don't need that. For example, last year in May 2013, we were in a very similar situation. We felt pressure to release the product in time, but there were a few glitches, and we decided to go ahead and release it. Within 48 hours, we were inundated with complaints. We got some bad press, and I believe at that time we all agreed that it would have been in our best interest to hold off. So based on our negative experience from last year, I really, really think we should not repeat the same mistake. I like to compare using this prep outline to using the Google Map app when you're on a road trip, right? You know where to start, you know where you're going, and the best part about it is you know when to stop. So again, this is Ann Ricketts with Lighthouse Communications. Thank you so much. If you like what you saw in this video and want to learn more about classes and workshops.
Okay, so I think everybody understands get to your point. Your point is the main idea. So this is good advice also for writers who are writing essays. When you write your introductory paragraph, get to the point and don't give background information first. According to her, you should get to your point first. And then give your reason, give an example, and then summarize your point in your conclusion. So I think that's good advice for writing also. And she said that it doesn't matter if you are writing an email or whatever. Her idea is to communicate clearly and start with your point being your main idea. Okay. Any questions about that before we go look at your essays? Okay. Hello, Tui. Good good evening.
Good evening. Good morning out there.
Good to see
I'm
you.
sorry that I mute myself before, so what I talk to you, you cannot hear me. So tonight and tomorrow night will be the last two sections for the students to listen to you in the writing section, right?
Right.
So if you already decide the date for the first seminar for all the students, and also the topic and the content, you can also inform the student tonight or tomorrow night.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What I plan to do is make all of those preparations this week.
Yeah.
But I will talk tomorrow about what we'll do. But I'm going to send you an email probably today with just a couple of questions. And I'm just going to ask you to help me plan a little bit. So I'll send you an email today and you can answer it in the next 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
Okay.
So please, when you email me, please CC Dr. New Farm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that she also knows about it.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So,
okay.
So far, have the student turn on their video so that
yes,
they
that
can
would
see
be
it?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could turn on your videos, folks, that would help me because then I'll know if you're there.
Yeah.
And it's also nice to see all your faces.
Yep. So for the writing section, a lot of students attend each section they have with you for 8 nights. For the speaking class later on,
Mm-hmm.
you will have the first section with a lot of students for the
Mm-hmm.
first year, and then
And then
for the
small
second,
sessions.
yeah, section
Mm-hmm.
to the end, you will work in smaller group so that you can have
Yeah,
time and more space for the
I
students
think
to
I
interact with
think
you
that's a
directly.
great idea, Tui.
Yep.
Yeah,
So for speaking, they need more space with you. For writing, it's okay for all the students to learn from you and the example from their own essay or their friends' essays.
that's a
Yeah.
very wise decision, and thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Yep.
All right.
So
I
you
look
can see the
forward to it.
student on the screen so far, and some of them may be a bit late tonight. I think so because usually there are nearly um, 200 or more than 200 students attend, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it's more than 120, and more students are still coming. So
Yeah,
they will
it looks
listen
like
to
it's
you. Yep.
123.
Yep.
Let's see.
And you can also share the link of the files for the students so that they can follow what you corrected.
Yes, I'll do that either today or tomorrow, depending on how far we get today.
Yep.
Yeah, they have the first two documents with
Yep.
all the corrections, and now I'm working on the third one, and I will. It depends on how far we get today,
Yep.
but I'll give it to them either today or tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
So hopefully by now the student get used to your accents and intonation. So they will be eager to attend other seminar and
Hmm.
workshop with you later on. Yep.
Yes, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
learning a little bit about Vietnam and Vietnamese.
yeah, you can ask the student directly. They will be your tutor.
Yeah, that'll be easier next week, I guess.
Yeah. Mm,
Okay.
right. So maybe you should begin with the essay example by now.
Yeah.
And I would draw a bit and maybe I turn up my video so that it's
Okay.
easier for the student to interact with you directly. And they
Okay.
don't feel shy when they see me there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I can observe you and the student, and in case you need me to have anything, then ask. And I will tell the student if necessary, or
Okay.
if not, you can ask the student directly.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm going to start talking about this first example from essay 4 in group 6. And excuse me, this student writes, while some people believe that youngers should be approached the internet as soon as possible, others agree the disadvantage of it outweigh the advantage. Discussed below are several benefits as well as drawbacks of this issue. Okay, well, I'm going to say again, make sure that you are using an app to write that will help you correct your spelling errors, because spelling errors are very serious. They're little things, but if your professor sees that spelling errors, that's going to be not so good for you. There should not be spelling errors in your work. Um, if you need help getting an app, I'm sure that people at school can help you get a writing app like well, it depends on if you use Apple or Microsoft, but I'm using Microsoft. Well, I also use Apple. I have two main computers that I use. One is an Apple laptop, and the other one is a Microsoft um, laptop. So I use both, but they all have apps that can help you spell check. Okay, so using spell check is it's like even little children use spell check. So college students should definitely be using spell check. You don't want to have spelling errors. Okay, so you want to correct the 4 spelling errors first of all, and um, Okay, so youngers is not an English word that I'm familiar with, but youngsters is. Um, and um, I'm going to try to fix these problems. Um, youngsters, actually, I wouldn't even say youngsters. I would say students is a better word choice. Should begin using um, the internet as soon as possible, but others believe that the disadvantages should be plural, of using online technologies um, outweigh, not outweight, but outweigh the advantages, plural. And then this sentence, you just don't need this sentence. I would just omit this sentence because this is not giving any information. This is what I would call fluff. Okay. So just omit sentences that don't give information. And yes, it does tell you that you're going to talk about something, but when you tell me that you're going to talk about something, why not just go ahead and talk about it and tell me about it? So don't point to something that you're going to say later. Just go ahead, like Ann Ricketts said, get to the point. Okay. All right. Um, oh, okay. This is something that after reading lots of your essays, I wanted to make sure that you know the differences between these because we talk about them a lot. Um, but okay, what is the difference between the internet and the web? Because there is a big difference. Okay, they are not the same thing. The web is the World Wide Web, or WWW, and that is different than the internet. So make sure you know what you're talking about there. Also, you might want to use the word web-based technology, or that phrase, web-based being hyphenated because it's two words modifying a noun. So um, sometimes you talk about the web, but maybe you really mean a web-based technology. Um, use the word online carefully. Then there's the word telephones and the word telephony. I don't know if you know that word, but telephony is all of the technology associated with telephones, and that includes landlines, cell phone towers, the technology used to transmit the messages from tower to tower and things like that. So telephony is like the industry of telephones. Then you have tablets, and then this is a word that I think maybe you want to use more because when you say devices, that word can mean computers, desktops, laptops, tablets, telephones, iPhones, smartphones. Okay. So if you want to use devices, that means all of those things together. So if you're trying to talk generally, you might want to use the word devices. And then sometimes you want to talk about applications or apps. And I would, if you're writing an essay, I would make sure that your audience knows that when you're talking about apps, you are talking about applications. So rule of thumb, a rule of thumb is an important rule. I don't know why we say a rule of thumb, but we do. A good rule of thumb is that if you're going to use an acronym like CDC, or if you're going to use a short form of word like apps, what you do is the first time that you mention apps, you explain what that means. After that, in your essay, you can use the short form or the acronym. But the first time you use it, explain it, then you can use the short form after that. Okay. Anyway, I'm just saying that when you use these terms, choose what you mean carefully, and make sure that there's no confusion between those. It is a big world with lots of different technologies. Um, I used to I used to work in that world of high technology, and I have had to write about a lot of different technologies as a tech writer. So um, the closer you get to the world of information technology, the more careful you have to be. And by the way, if you are thinking about maybe becoming a tech writer, then you will want to make sure that you know exactly what all of these things mean. Okay. And like I said earlier, choose your dictionaries carefully, because a technical dictionary may be very different than just a general dictionary. So let me see. I will see if I can find a technical dictionary for you during the break. Um, I have some, but be very careful in your choice of these technology related words. Okay, let's look at this sentence. Let me turn these non-printing characters off. That's better, right? Okay, I use those when I'm writing to help me with spaces. All right, so this sentence says, to begin with, there are many benefits that using computer can be admitted. Okay, first of all, admitted is misspelled. That's not good. And I'm not sure that you need this to begin with. Um, I know that that's something that you're learning how to do, but I think that this is an early sentence. This might be the introductory sentence, I'm not sure, but um, only used to begin with if you're going to talk about several things. Okay, so this statement, there are many benefits to enjoy from the use of computer technology. Um, I think that the person did not go on to use a series of things. So unless you have several things that you're going to talk about, you don't need to begin with. You can just start saying what you want to say. There are many benefits to enjoy from the use of computer technology. Now, I don't know about this use of the word admitted. I think it's not necessary at all. I would just say from the use of computer technology, period. Okay. The KISS principle, keep it simple, right? All right. By the way, you can ask a question at any time. All you have to do is turn on your microphone and ask a question. You're welcome to do that. All right. Now, this person did have more things to say. So this person began with first. Um, now, let me see. All right, I'm just going to, some of these words are not necessary and I'm just going to omit them. So first by connecting, uh, okay, no, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to do this. Um, these are words that I added. So let me make them blue. First, by connecting with the internet, um, you, I think what you mean is connecting with other people or applications through the internet. Like, you don't want to just connect with the internet. Um, if you say connect with the internet, what you're saying is I'm going to turn on my computer and go online. But what you're really talking about is the use of computers to communicate with people or go to school and things like that. So I would say connect through the internet or over the internet. Either one of those will work. Young people can effectively look for information, and I would say not keep contact. I would say easily stay in touch with their relatives. Okay. Um, keep contact. I understand what that means, but it is not an elegant way to say it. Uh, when you're talking about your relatives, you can use the expression stay in touch. And that just means communicate. It could be telephone, it could be texting, it could be in person, anything. Um, and you know, if you like someone and you want to continue to communicate with that person, you can tell them keep in touch or stay in touch. But we always use that phrase in touch. Um, there are other ways we can say that, but that's a very, very common way to talk about staying in communication with someone. Okay. Now we're going to go to this sentence. Moreover, you can um, you can call, use video applications, or chat with your friends only sitting front of your smartphone or laptop as well. Okay, I'm going to recommend this sentence instead. Moreover, you can use video-based applications or chat with your friends simply by using your smartphone or laptop. Okay, you can't say call use video-based applications. That doesn't work. You don't need the word call. And I understand what you're saying, but when you use this phrase, sitting in front, you have to say of, sitting in front of your smartphone or laptop. Um, but I wouldn't say sitting in front of. I would be more clear, and being clear. um, would be use video-based applications or chat with your friends simply by using your smartphone or laptop. So I would change that to simply by using, okay? That's a very common expression. Simply by, it's when you want to talk to someone about something being easy, okay? Um, I can have a cup of coffee simply by boiling some water and grinding some coffee beans, okay? Simply by is a good phrase. And then this is a very popular thing to say as well. For some reason, right now, it's very popular for people to say as well. But when you're writing, you need to be use the KISS principle. Keep it simple. Okay. If you don't need those words, don't use them. So use words that give meaning or information, but don't use words that don't help your reader to understand. So I would just say um, be use your words sparingly. Fewer words is better. If you can express your idea with fewer words, you will make life for your reader easier. And if the things that you write all have meaning that they enjoy reading about, then that will help you as a writer. Don't use words that are unnecessary. Okay, let's look at this one. Um, Second, since technology contains many channels related any interests, the youngers can entertain for many attractive pages. By this way, they can, under pressure, after a lot of deadlines given in the school. Okay, I'm going to recommend a complete rewrite of that. And um, this, these two sentences, um,
Oi, udah.
yes, do you want to say something? Okay, somebody hit their microphone by mistake, I think. Okay, um, I don't really understand what these sentences are saying. I understand some of it, um, but some of it it's not making sense to me. For example, youngers can entertain for many attractive pages. I have a vague idea of what that means, but it doesn't sound like what this person is really trying to communicate. Um, they can be under pressure after a lot of deadlines given in the school. I understand that, um, but it is not. I'm gonna help you to say that in a better way. Okay, so what I'm going to recommend is going to be completely different. I'm going to recommend this. And if you want to have some ideas from this, maybe it can help you write a little bit more clearly. I'm going to say technology offers a dizzying array of choices for communication and learning. Does everybody understand dizzying array? Dizzy means when you turn around too fast and you get dizzy. Okay. And also, if you have so many choices of something, it kind of makes you dizzy. And that's just, this is a phrase that you will see in English when you have many, many, many choices. Okay.
So, uh,
Hmm.
and now phrase uh, dizzying array hold the positive meaning or a negative one.
I would say a little bit of both because um, it depends on your personality. Do you like a lot of choices, or do you like just a few basic choices? So, in the world of commerce, there are a lot of people trying to sell you something to drink. Okay, for example, how many different advertisements have you seen for things that you can drink in Way? Okay, so I would say you have a dizzying array of offerings of things to drink in the city of Way. Okay, um, some people just say, I just want a cup of coffee. I don't want to talk about 40 different kinds of coffee. Just give me my regular simple coffee. So, uh, some people like to have a dizzying array of choices, and some people don't. But I would say it's the okay. So since this person was saying the technology contains many channels and related interests. That's what I'm trying to say here in just in a format of English that I think is a little clearer. By the way, unless you're talking about one specific technology, you don't say the technology, you just say technology, technology in general. Okay. And that's what this person means. So it is not okay to say the technology here because this person is talking about all of technology. So then you just want to say technology, not the technology. Okay. So what we're trying to say here is there are a lot of different choices of technology. Okay. My next sentence is, um, let me see. Okay. So this person wrote two sentences and I wrote three. So I broke it up into three sentences. My next sentence is students can choose. And notice I said students. And it's good to, yeah. This, by the way, this word youngers, mm-mm, no, youngsters. But then when you say youngsters, like I would not use that for college students. I think that college students would not want to be called youngsters. They want to be called adults, okay? Because you are adults and you're making adult decisions. So be careful with that. A lot of you have used the word children, and I would avoid the use of children. I would say students, because then you're talking about anybody who is learning at any age. Okay. So I would say students can choose from many computer based media to suit their individual learning preferences. Okay. So we all have learning preferences. Um, and like I was saying the other day, a lot of times, um, if you want to, um, if you want to learn how to do something, these days, it used to be that you would go to a book and you would read a book to learn how to do something. And then we got uh, the internet and the World Wide Web. So you would go on the web and you would look it up, and someone would write and tell you how to do something. And then we got YouTube. And now people go on YouTube and watch how to do something. Okay. So those are different learning preferences. Some people like books. Some people like reading technical information in words, and some people like to watch how to do it, using a video. And more people are turning to video. And that is why when you write an essay, it needs to be something that somebody wants to read. Otherwise, they'll go to YouTube and watch it on a video. Okay. So this is why you want to draw your reader in and make your reader stay with you during your essay. Okay, so the last sentence I use is, however, online learning can still be isolating and stressful. Okay, so this person talked about pressure and deadlines, and I'm going to make that very clear. What we're talking about is online learning. Let's be clear about what it is we're talking about. Online learning. And that has nothing to do with people who are young. It's all online learning. Okay, so let's be clear what we're talking about. We're talking about online learning. And that's a very general term. And I think what you need here is a general term, because during this pandemic, it's a very good example of, we all left our schools and went home and turned on our computers. And now the pandemic of the COVID disease has caused us to all become Zoom addicts. Okay. Now everybody is on Zoom. Small children are on Zoom. High school students are on Zoom. College students are on Zoom. Graduate students are on Zoom. Corporations are on Zoom. People are working from home using Zoom. Um, People are talking to their parents and friends on Zoom or some, video-based technology. So it was very interesting to read the things that you wrote about. Um, but let's be clear about what it is we're talking about. We're talking about online learning. That's a very broad and general term, but I think that is the subject here. So be very careful when you're choosing what you're talking about. Okay, and let's be clear about what online learning, we're talking about the disadvantages of online learning. And so it can be isolating. Isolating means you're by yourself. Okay, so that is a clear term for being by yourself. And stressful, um, because it's a different kind of stress. Um, and we just want to be clear about what those disadvantages are. Okay, so in other words, we start out with something about the situation. The situation is we have all of these things to choose from for communication and learning. And students can choose from all of these things what it is they want. Sometimes we choose, and in this case, you didn't get to choose Zoom. Your school said, we will use Zoom to present your English classes, okay? Uh, but you still have choices for other things. And, you know, this is a very good way to communicate between Atlanta and Hue. It's better than me trying to fly to Hue every day to give you a lesson. That wouldn't work. So it's good, but it can still be isolating and stressful. So that's what this person is trying to communicate in this essay. All right. Um, so what I want to say is that, yeah, you are you're communicating your thoughts here, but you you need to take um, a lot of time and a lot of care in the selection of the vocabulary that you use and the way you build your sentences. Make sure you are clear, um, and make sure that you're using the appropriate vocabulary. All right. Let's go to the next sentence. First, if teachers spend too much time on the computer screen, they can be negatively affected. And these are two different words that many people, many Americans, many English speakers get wrong. Um, and I would just say use your dictionary, because, I can tell you the difference, but I think if you use your dictionary, it'll do a better job of explaining not only the difference between effect and affect, but the different ways to use them. Okay. So, also, they can both be verbs and they can both be nouns. So it's a confusing choice, and it's one that many native speakers of English get wrong. So this is your chance to get it right. And when you look it up, make notes to yourself and look at examples of when to use those two words. And I mean, if you Google effect, affect, you'll have probably 1,000 hits of people telling you, examples. So I will just say, use those words very carefully and make sure that the way you're using it is correct. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Um, oh, okay. Okay. I think this is a continuation of what I was saying earlier. Uh, the word youngers is, I've never seen that word in my life. I've seen youngsters, um, but young people is better than that. But even best would be to say students, because some people will be insulted if you call them youngsters. Okay. Um, all right. So here's a sentence. In fact, many youngers contained those disease are currently developing because of focusing regularly on the social network without doing physical exercise. Okay, I would change that to students are in danger of contracting those disorders and diseases due to over reliance on social network, things like that. Okay, so this this to me is not clear. Um, like you would not say that someone contained a disease. The word that you would use for when someone gets sick with a disease is you talk about the word contracting. You could say that she contracted COVID, or she contracted a cold, or, you know, uh, he contracted malaria. But when you get a disease, it's called contracting. And there's a difference between a disorder and a disease. Okay. So um, a disorder would be a headache. Okay. A headache is a disorder, not a disease. So use those words carefully. And then over reliance means that you need something too much or you use something too much. That's over reliance. There's the word reliance. Okay, so that comes from the word rely. We rely on technology to have this class. We have a reliance on technology to attend this class. And if it somehow is unhealthy, then you can start talking about an over reliance on something. All right. Okay. Um, let's look at this sentence. Second, when children dedicated to use on the electronic devices such as games, Facebooks, or TikTok, they can be quickly addicted. Um, okay, so instead of saying dedicated to use on the electronic devices, I would say when children, well, actually, I would say when students overuse. Okay, this is a verb. Use it too much. They overuse electronic devices. Okay, remember when you use things that are brand names, you have to capitalize them. So capital F for Facebook. And if you write TikTok, you need to, since it's a brand name, you need to write it like TikTok writes it. Okay, so um, you know, one of the things that has changed is that, what we do now. Let me get my phone out. Um, okay, this is how we communicate now, right? And if I want to text my sons, um, I don't have to be formal. I don't have to write carefully. I can say, I can say LOL for laughing out loud and things like that. But when you're writing an essay, you need to be more careful. So when you're using a brand name like Facebook or TikTok, be careful and do it right. All it takes is 2 seconds to, Google TikTok and see how they write it. So be very careful. Put effort into your writing. Um, okay, and instead of in, like I understand they can be quickly addicted, but I recommend this one. It can lead to an addiction. Okay, that's just a little more elegant way to say that. Um, it can lead to an addiction. And you can say it can lead to an addiction to those apps and devices. That way, you're being clear. Um, okay, when you say quickly addicted, um, you want to be clear about what they're being addicted to. Okay, so when you say addicted, what? Um, Heroin, marijuana, devices, what? So there are all kinds of different addictions. So don't be too general. Make sure that you spell out what it is you mean. And I think that the person means apps and devices, which covers a lot of different things, but it's clear. Um, so I would say, to be clear, it can lead to an addiction to those apps and devices. This is what we're trying to talk about in this essay. All right, let's look at this sentence. This leads to cause lazily thinking because of available information which can be affected on their final results. Therefore, technology can be impacted on both the mental and physical problems. All right, well, we have some problems here, all right? Here's what I recommend. I recommend that you, first of all, reconsider what you are saying here. Are you saying that using technology is such a passive activity that it does not stimulate much thought? Or are you saying that using technology is overstimulating? Okay, so I'm not sure what you're trying to say here. Are you saying that all this technology is making us lazy? Or are you saying it's making us overstimulated? There's a big difference there, okay? Um, does everybody understand overstimulating? Um, Overstimulating is like when you go to a party at an amusement park or something like that. You have a lot of things that are fun and interesting, and they're all happening at the same time. Um, so, um, like maybe a rave would be overstimulating or something. So, I'm not sure that I understand what this person is saying here. So, my first recommendation is think about which it is you want to choose to say. Um, okay. Also, technology is not impacted. People are impacted by technology. Okay. And omit the use of on. Don't say impacted on. Just omit that. Don't use it. Okay. Oh, okay. So that's all I had to say about this sentence. I'm not sure how to fix it because I'm not sure what this person is trying to say. Um, you know, this leads me to say, to remind you again, um, ask somebody to read this for you. Ask a friend who you trust, who will speak to you honestly. If you say, "Hey, would you just proofread this for me? Would you just read this for me and tell me if you understand what I'm saying or if there are any problems or anything?" You know, because asking your friend to spend 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes reading something for you uh, it's something that could help you a lot. When I'm writing something, sometimes you know I know what I want to say and I know what I mean, but sometimes uh, because it's only me reading it, I have to be very careful that I'm writing so that other people, can understand what it is that I'm thinking. So thinking is one thing, but expressing it on paper so that other people can understand it is not always an easy thing to do. So get a friend or a fellow student to proofread it for you. It doesn't have to take a long time. Um, but you do need them to be honest with you. You know, you don't want them to just say, "Yeah, it's great. Okay." You know, you want to say, "No, no, really. Tell me if there's anything that you don't understand or is not clear." All right. Okay. Um, it is almost 9 o'clock. Why don't we just take a few minutes of a break? And when we come back, we'll do more of the same. Just take 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and do some more. Okay, short break, everybody. 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Okay, everyone, let's get back together, please. Okay, let's get back together, and if you can turn your cameras on, I'll know if you're there. That would be good. Okay, so during the break, I went out to the garden. I brought a flower to show you. This is a flower that's blooming on a vine right now. There are many of these, and they grow on a vine. They grow up, and this is a beautiful time of year in Atlanta. And I guess the color of this is purple, and it's called clematis. And maybe you have these in Vietnam too. I don't know. But it's called clematis. Anyway, it's a beautiful time in Atlanta right now. Many flowers are blooming. Okay. All right, let's look at this conclusion. In conclusion, the above mentioned facts have outlined the benefits as well as the difficulties, I think they mean difficulties, of using social networks. Its advantages should be taken into account. People should take advantage of the pros and minimize the cons of this problem. Okay, if I were to just read this paragraph um, by itself and not read the other part of the essay, I would have no idea what this person is recommending that I do. This paragraph by itself doesn't tell me anything. Okay, so um, I'm going to say that this paragraph is very weak, and I'm going to ask you, students, to tell me how could this student make this more meaningful? Can some of you please talk to me and tell me what you think would make this conclusion better? Anybody? How would you
Yes,
make?
sir.
Yes, please speak.
Um, well, I think to make this conclusion better, the writer should repeat the on the points that they use in the paragraphs above,
Mm-hmm.
and and like make it clear that what are the difficulties and what are the facts that had outlined the benefits of using social network and
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right.
yes, I
Yes, you're
okay.
right. They should say what it is that are the difficulties and what are the advantages. Yes. Anybody else want to make any recommendations or any other recommendations? Okay, so um, also it has a misspelling, which is just lethal. um, So, in other words, the big problem with this paragraph, especially as a conclusion, is that it doesn't say anything. Um, it speaks very generally about difficulties and advantages and pros and cons, but it doesn't say anything like what pros, what cons. So what she just said was right. You in your conclusion, you have to convince me of something. What you're trying to do when you write an essay, when you write a conclusion, you want to change my mind or help me to think like you think or something. But this conclusion is so general that if I were to just read this paragraph and not read the essay, put it this way: if you wrote this essay and just got rid of the conclusion, the essay would be just as effective. So, in other words, this conclusion is not doing any work. It's not helping the essay. You could erase the whole conclusion and just have your essay with no conclusion, and it would be just as effective. So, if you're going to write a conclusion, your conclusion has to be like when you take a hammer and nail something in to finish, that's what your conclusion should be. Hammering the last nail into the thing that you're building, okay? And your conclusion should be forceful. It should be convincing, and it should be um, um, it should be cogent. It should help me to understand exactly um, what the problem is and how to fix it. Okay. All right. Anybody else have a comment there? All right. Well, when you are writing, you need to try to be your own worst critic. You need to be really hard on yourself. And if you write a paragraph like this, you need to ask yourself, what is this paragraph saying? Is it really saying something? Because if it's not, you need to rewrite that paragraph. All right. So remember, and I know what it's like to be a student and you have to write so many words, but remember, just adding words does not add meaning. You have to choose your words carefully, structure your sentences carefully, and structure your paragraphs carefully to mean something, okay? And if you're not saying anything, then you're not an effective writer. So try to be an effective writer and make sure that your writing has clear meaning. Okay, let's look at an example from Essay 4, Group 7. Okay. Video games can entertain children. In terms of education, these games are completely harmless at some point. Okay, the problem is at some point. At some point is it's good English, but it's not good English in this sentence. In this sentence, what you want to say is it's completely harmless in some regards. Okay, so when you say at some point, you either need to be talking about time at some point in time or geographically at some point on the road somewhere. Okay, so for example, how to use at some point, if you could use this example. We are driving from Atlanta to New York. At some point, we'll have to stop and get some sleep. That would be the way to use at some point. Okay. Um, take this class, for example. This class lasts for 2 hours. At some point, we need to take a short break. That's at a point in time. So you can have a point in time or a point in place. But in this sentence, you need to say the in terms of education, these games are completely harmless in some regards. That means in some ways of thinking about it. Okay. And by the way, it's at some point, but in some regards. Okay. I'm going to give you this document either today or tomorrow, so you don't have to write these things down. I will give it to you. All right. Any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Um, yeah. This is a prepositional phrase, and one thing that you want to make sure that you like. I know that I know English is difficult. I know English is hard to learn, but you need a good dictionary that will show you usage notes. Like, this is a perfectly good phrase, but how do you use it? So this is where books can help you, or you can go online. Um, and by the way, YouTube is flooded with videos about how to speak English and how to write in English and that sort of thing. So a little bit of research can help you to use those expressions. Like, if you hear an expression and you think, oh, I want to use that in my essay, just double check the usage notes of that prepositional phrase. And that is why you need a good dictionary. I don't know which dictionary you use, but talk to your professors and ask your professors, um, you know, which dictionaries or which sources of information do you think I should use to get the best advice? Okay. And I'm sure that your university has many, a library and many resources for you to use. I don't, um, I think, aren't you going back to school? Aren't you in school at the school? Can you go to the library? Are you able to go to the library? You're like,
Yes,
where? Okay.
yes, yeah. But we usually go to school just for having a studying space, not read the library, read the materials from library.
So your library is closed?
No?
No?
Yeah, it still operates. So why'd you say that?
Okay, so your library is open. Um, I can tell you that my local library for my neighborhood, it's not open, but I can go online and order books, put on a mask, and go to the library, and they will say, here, Mr. Butler, here are your books. Okay, so I can't really wander through the library, but the library can still give me some books. So make sure that you have what you need. Um, and I know that probably they're not going to give you a dictionary, but just, the library has many online resources. So make sure that you're, talking to your professors, saying, like how can I find a book that will help me use prepositional phrases and things like that. Okay. So, um, I mean, that's why we're having this class, is so that I can help you with your writing. But I know that you have a difficult job trying to use English with, so I want to tell you that I admire all of you for, first of all, trying, doing such a good job at learning English. And when I'm reading these essays, I can understand what you're saying usually. And so you're doing a good job. You just need help. Okay. All right. Here's the next sentence.
Can
Yes.
can I replace the phrase at some point by the phrase to some extent?
Um, to some extent. Um, I would not. I would not say to some extent. Um, to some extent would be more like when you're talking about uh, degrees of something, something that has a range. Um, trying to think of a good example. Um, and you could say our library is reopening to some extent. Okay, by that you could mean the I can't go wander through the library, but the library can loan me books if I just go to the door, if I order online and go to the door. So that means they're not, all of their services are not available, but some of their services are available.
Okay, okay,
So yeah.
I got it.
Okay. Yeah, and it's not easy. It's not easy for me to explain, and it's certainly not easy for you to understand if you're not a native speaker. Um, so that was a good question. That's another prepositional phrase. Um, I would say, um, let's see, it was closed. Okay, so this is the way I would use to some extent. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a minute. And oh, somebody somebody liked the flower. Okay. Yeah, it is beautiful. You're right. Okay. And so when we're talking about things like at some point, to some extent, in some regards, things like that, I'm going to put it in chat. We're talking about shades of meaning. And what I mean by shades of meaning is there are little differences between those things, but they do mean something different. So, shades of meaning means they all kind of mean the same thing, but not really. Um, um, so, I'm sure that the same thing is true in Vietnamese. You can say things more than one way, and there are little shades of meaning, um, like it might depend on context. Okay. Take the word love in English. It's a very powerful word, but it has many different shades of meaning. Okay. I can say, oh, I love this flower. But if I look at you and say, oh, I love you, well, that's a big difference. Okay. And it could mean, you could, look at your brother and say, I love you. That's a different kind of love. Okay. Than is what you say to your boyfriend. So there are all these different shades of meaning that I want to talk about with you. Okay. So uh, Hoylene says, is it okay if I replace with regard by aspect? Yes. Uh, yes. You could um, you could replace in some regards with uh, in some aspects. Yeah. An aspect is a way of looking at something or considering something. So yes, you could. Good question. Okay. Thank you for asking. Okay. Um, let's talk about the next sentence. Oh, I need to share. I forgot to share. Okay, so she was asking, could she replace this word in some regards with aspects? And the answer is yes, you could. Yeah, Word always does things that it always capitalizes things. Yes, you could say aspects. Yeah. So one of the things about English that makes it so difficult and frustrating is that there are so many different ways to say the same thing. Okay, and there's a good reason for that. And at at some point um, in my work at your university, I want to show you a presentation on the history of English, and you'll be able to see why English is so complicated. But English, it started out as Germanic, and then it got French and Latin and uh, Norse and Greek and all kinds of different languages mixed up in it. So English is difficult, but English is very powerful. Okay. If you can speak English, you can go anywhere. All right. All right. It's called, I don't know if you know this expression in English. Oh, let me see. What? Have you ever heard this? I'll put it in chat. It's a love-hate relationship. Okay. Sometimes you hate English because it's so difficult, but sometimes you love English because it can help you say what you want to say in lots of different parts of the world. Okay. It's a love-hate relationship. Okay. Let me go back and share again. Come on, you love English. All right. So now we're going to look at this sentence. However, the reality today has shown, okay, if you're using the word today, you're talking about now. So I don't think you want to use the past tense has shown. I think you want to use the present tense. However, the reality today shows dot dot dot. Okay. Um, so this is a little thing, but if you want to say has shown, then you probably want to say something like this. Experience in the past has shown, or experience has shown, or the past has shown, either one. Okay. So really, this is redundant. We don't really need to say um, like we could just delete that and say experience has shown. If you say experience in the past has shown, it's redundant, but it maybe emphasizes the past. Um, but does everybody understand what I mean when I say this is redundant? Because experience is
Yeah.
always in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't really need to say experience in the past. It's okay to be redundant sometimes if you want to emphasize a point, though. Okay. Is the sun still shining in Hue now, or has the sun gone down?
Can you
It's like
speak that again?
it's 8:30 in Vietnam right now. Is the sun still shining, or is it nighttime now?
It's a nighttime now. It's so dark around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like this time of year because we get so much more sunshine. Okay, so now let me go to the next sentence. Okay, the next sentence is this one. These games have too many scenes that are not suitable for the age of children, as well as describe acts of violence quite clearly and in detail. Okay, I understand exactly what this person means, but it's not good English. We're going to fix it so that the English is much clearer and easy to read. Okay, so um, I'm going to recommend that you kind of reorganize this sentence. Begin with your subject. Okay. Um, and I think that your subject it should be your main concern. Your main concern is the children. Okay. And I think here we're not going to say students because I think here you clearly mean children. Um, by the way, my concept of children would be, um, no older than 13 or 14. So, um, also, um, I do understand this phrase, younger children. So it could be redundant because children are all young. So, but you're saying younger. So now I'm thinking younger children, maybe no older than 9. That's a guess. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but when I read younger children, I'm thinking, oh, not just children, but children who are even younger. Okay, and that's a concern. But I would say even younger children have access to video games that are not appropriate for them due to graphic, violent content. Okay, so this is a phrase that you will hear a lot in English. Like when you are about to watch a movie or something or play a game, you might see these words before you are able to watch the movie or play the game. It might say graphic, violent content. So that is a very short way to say, um, okay, so in other words, uh, I said this with fewer words, and I kind of reorganized the sentence to begin with what we're really concerned about. What we're really concerned about is our children. So I made that the subject. Um, so that's another thing about English is that you tend to put when you're writing a sentence in an essay, you probably want to begin your sentence with the thing that is of your um, greatest concern.
Can you speak this idea again?
Yes. Um, so this sentence talked about it. It began with the games, and it sounds like I am most concerned about the games, but I'm not. My my greatest concern is the children. And so I reorganized this sentence to begin talking about the children. The children are the main thing. So begin your sentence with the main thing. So what I did was I moved things around in the sentence and I began the sentence with the main concern. And then this word suitable, it's fine. I would say appropriate, but suitable is also okay. So I would say um, my word choice would be appropriate, but suitable is also okay. All right. So when you said describe acts of violence quite clearly and in detail, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, 9 words, I changed that to 3 words. Okay. So I think this person did a good job of writing. I'm just showing you a way to um, to use fewer words that are more meaningful. Okay, that's the whole reason we're having this class. Okay, example from essay 4, group 8. All right. In this day and age, the proliferation of technology brings tons of contributions and makes people's life easier. Okay, well, tons of is perfectly good English, but I think it's a little too informal for an essay. So in spoken English, if you're talking to someone and you want to say tons of stuff, excuse me, That's kind of like slang. Okay. It's good English if you're talking casually, but when you're writing an essay, you're not talking casually. It's a little bit more formal. Um, so instead of saying, oh, okay, and so contributions um, is a little vague and doesn't imply anything especially good. So um, if you think about it, a contribution is something that someone gives to something or someone, but it could be a little tiny contribution or it could be a very big contribution. Okay. So it's not necessarily positive. It is positive, but it's not of, it doesn't say a lot. So if you want to say it better, I would say um, a wide variety of highly beneficial changes. Okay, that is making this clearer. All right. So instead of saying tons of, I would say a wide variety of. And instead of saying contributions, I would say highly beneficial changes. And that's just my suggestion. You could, ask other people what they think, and they would have different ideas. But I think that tons of contributions just needs a little bit of work. Okay. And like I said, we're talking about shades of meaning, but we're also talking about formality. And when you write an essay for school, you want to use a different kind of English than you use at your local restaurant with your friends. Okay. Those are different, styles of English or modes of English. Um, for example, the Vietnamese that you speak at home, is it the same um, Vietnamese that you speak at school? Or do you talk a little bit differently with your family than you do at school? I'll bet it's a little bit different, right? Okay. Yeah. Um, you know, I taught German for a long time. In Germany, there are many, many different dialects of German, and they are very different in the North than they are in the South. Very different. And if a Northerner speaks dialect to a Southerner, the Southerner will not understand everything that the Northerner is saying. It's very different. And if a Southerner goes to the North and tries to use the Southern dialects, and there are many different Southern dialects and many different Northern dialects, um, they won't be understood. And people will laugh at you if you try to use your dialect in the wrong place. But there is a kind of a standard German that they use on television and radio. Okay. And so when people are at home, they might speak their dialect in Germany. But when they are at school, they use a more standard type of German. Okay. And anyway, so what I'm saying is when you're writing an essay, it's a little formal. Okay. It's not the same. And that's the only reason that I say that tons of is not a good idea, it's because your essay should be more formal. It's good English, just using it in the wrong place. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. Um, you can't really say people's life. You have to say people's lives, plural. You can't say makes people's life easier. You have to say makes people's lives, plural, easier. Or you can just say it makes life easier. Okay, that's short and sweet. Um, because when you say it makes life easier, I assume you're talking about human beings or people. Okay, so you could just say it makes life easier. So I don't know which you prefer. If you want to say it makes people's lives easier, but this is a matter you decide. You could just say it makes life easier. Either one of those is perfectly good English. Any questions? All right. Okay. Let's look at this sentence. What? Okay. Some people believe that technology yields numerous benefits for children. However, others suppose that it will create several negative impacts on kids. All right, let's see. What do I recommend? I recommend that you make this two sentences with a period after children. So this is just what I was telling you. Keep your sentences short. Um, so put a period here and start your next sentence with however. Okay. Some people believe that technology yields numerous benefits for children, period. However, others suppose that it will create several negative impacts on kids. Excuse me. It's just a good idea to kind of keep your sentences short. It makes life easier for your readers. Okay, here's the next sentence. First and foremost, technology gives kids plenty of golden opportunities to widen their knowledge. And I understand that. It's perfectly good English. Um, it's okay. Um, I would say you can make it briefer just by saying learn. First and foremost, technology gives kids plenty of golden opportunities to learn. Okay, you can make it briefer, or you can say, whoops, I made a mistake here. This should be broaden the scope of their learning. Okay. Um, yeah, because when you say widen their knowledge, that might be a little bit too vague. I think you might actually need to do a little bit more explaining and say broaden the scope of their learning. Okay. Um, I understand widen their knowledge, but it's a little too vague for me. I would recommend either make it short and sweet, just say learn, or maybe do a little bit more explaining. And maybe this is closer to what this person meant, broaden the scope of their learning. When you broaden the scope of your learning, you would say maybe don't just study English, also study chemistry and math and history. That's broadening the scope of your learning. Okay, well, I would like to finish today by sharing something with you. Um, I need to go to another document. Hold on a second here. Um, where is it? Here it is. Okay. I want to talk to you about another type of writing that you can use as a profession. This is a profession that I worked in for many years, and it's basically it's called an instructional designer. I'll put it in chat. An instructional designer designs instruction or designs training. Okay, it's kind of like the material that I use in this class is I design it in order to teach English. Um, but I have also designed instruction to teach the use of computer software, for example, many different technologies. But you might want to think about using your English if you enjoy teaching and if you enjoy writing. You could be an instructional designer. And I want to just show you a little bit about what it means to be an instructional designer. And you can just Google it, just search on the web for instructional designer. I found this, it looks like a pretty good description. It's from the University of Chicago. So this is talking about careers in instructional design to students at the University of Chicago. Okay. This, and I will just give you this link. I'll put it in chat so that you can go see it. Hold on a second. Always have to quit sharing in order to share with you, in order to chat with you. Okay. This is the website that I'm looking at here. I'm not going to read to you, but I will just show you that it's a good profession if you like to write and you like to teach. Um, and like I was saying, a lot of people today don't like to read so much as they like to watch video. So a lot of the work that instructional designers do, they have to write words to explain things, but they also very often use pictures or video, uh, known as multimedia, audio, video, images. But you can see there, there are other ways of, like, instructional designer is one name for this profession. There are many other names that are similar, like curricular developer or curriculum designer, things like that. Um, an instructional coordinator is a little different, but you can see the common job duties for an instructional designer. You can see the skills that they need. Basically, if you're going to be an instructional designer, you need to be able to learn things quickly and then explain them. Okay. Okay, so this tells you how your graduate work can help you be an instructional designer. Here are all the possible different job titles you could have. if you're an instructional designer. Steps you can take to prepare for this career. Somebody's writing on the whiteboard. um, yeah, so if you, I don't know how you guys look for jobs, but there is a website that we use in the United States, and it's called Indeed.com. And what we can do is we can put something like what what job. If I put instructional designer, Atlanta, Georgia, find jobs, then it shows me a lot of different jobs for an instructional designer. So um, it's a it's something that I did for about 15 years. Um, it's like teaching in a company. Um, let me see. Did I share that with you? Maybe not.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. So if I go to, and I don't know what you have in Vietnam, but here in the United States, a lot of us use Indeed. We type in instructional designer, where, Atlanta, Georgia, and it gives me possible jobs that I can go apply for. Okay. So do you have something like that in Vietnam, or do you use Indeed, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have LinkedIn and Facebook, and sometimes we look for a job on the company website.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm
And
just,
for our translation class, our professor presented uh, the translator coffee.com, sir,
oh,
or
okay.
fever, yeah, fever.com.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And what, your professors wanted me to talk to you about, um, the different types of writing that you can do. And I just wanted you to know that if you, if your English gets good enough, this is one of the things that you can do. And there are many jobs in instructional design in the world of technology. So if you like technology and if you like writing in English, um, and you can learn quickly, and if you like teaching, then this might be something that you would want to look at. And I was an instructional designer for many years, and if you have any questions about that, I can help you with it. So, okay. Um, let's go back here. Um, this is just one place that I found that tells you about instructional design. There are actually professional organizations for instructional designers, and so it's like another world, a professional world, and there are many different things you can do with that. But um, the instructional design that I did was almost always computer technologies of some kind, but I also did instructional design for soft skills. Do, do you know what this word means in English, or this phrase, soft skills?
Yes.
Okay, so this is more like people skills, okay, interpersonal skills. Um, so one time they asked me to write some training for how to evaluate your employees and help them uh, get promotions and raises. So that was soft skills. And then one time I wrote training for how to troubleshoot and fix a locomotive. Everybody know what a locomotive is?
No.
Okay,
No.
let me go. Let me go Google that and okay. Okay. Um, Now I can share this with you. Um, I help people fix these things. You know, a locomotive pulls a train. Okay, it's some people call it the engine. The best word for it is locomotive. And I wrote training that told mechanics how to fix these things when they break. So instructional designers can do a lot of different kinds of work. Does anybody have any?
Really?
Yeah, a lot. It's a very interesting world. You know, you get to go to some place and learn about a new technology, and then you explain it, and so you
So
basically.
you are really a bad trainer and bad teacher.
I've had a lot of experience. Yes, it's very interesting. It's challenging. Like I was on an airplane one time, and I struck up a conversation with a stranger, this lady who was sitting next to me, and she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm an instructional designer." And she said, "Oh, I used to do that, but it was too hard."
Yeah, really sure.
Yeah, it is hard because you have to learn, 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 and then you have to teach, 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 you know. So, but I just wanted you to know about that profession. Okay, so it's time to finish class. I will see you again tomorrow for the last class, and we will do more of the same thing. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, time to say good night or goodbye. All right.
Goodbye. Have a nice day
All
tomorrow.
right. Yeah, have a nice
Thank
day.
you for
Okay.
lesson today.
Well, goodbye.
All
Such a
right.
beautiful flower.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Have a nice day.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, everybody. It's been my honor and my pleasure. Goodbye. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. Okay, I'm going to end the session now. Goodbye.